In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about why bass go to deep water. Now, this is a question that a lot of people have, and especially if you're new to fishing, you're asking yourself, well, why do bass go shallow? Why do they go deep? Why do they move at all? And in the next series of videos here, I'm going to talk about all three of those things. But in today's video, I want to talk about why bass go deep. So, deeper water, and when I say deeper water, I'm talking anything over 15 feet. You know, when you get into that 20, 25, 35, 45 foot range of water, that water for the most part is going to be a lot more stable than surface water or mid-depth water. And the reason being is simply because it is not as affected by sunlight, by rain, by any weather input or seasonal input. I mean, obviously, if the whole lake warms up over a long period of time, that deeper water is going to warm up as well. And as, you know, temperatures start to drop and the whole lake temperatures drop, those deeper temperatures are going to drop. But for the most part, they're going to stay in a more stable range of water. You got to think about, like, when a lake freezes up north, it freezes from the top down, and there's a certain point at which it stops freezing, and it's because that deeper water is a lot more stable and is going to hold a temperature range a lot better than that surface temperature will. And so bass, to avoid big temperature swings and to avoid, you know, things like water clarity and to avoid things like current and to avoid things like weather changes and seasonal changes, will go and live in deep water just because it is a lot more stable. Also, deeper water, for the most part, is going to hold a lot more oxygen. The reason it's going to hold a lot more oxygen, a lot more dissolved oxygen, is oftentimes because those water temperatures tend to be a little bit cooler than the rest of the lake, or a little bit warmer than the rest of the lake. And so, like, when you're thinking about summertime fishing, that 25 plus foot or even 20 foot plus range is going to be a lot cooler water and thus have a lot more dissolved oxygen in it, and it's going to be a lot easier for those fish to live in that environment versus really warm surface temperature water. And you know, you have experienced this. If you go swimming on the lake and you kind of let your feet hang or you dive down a little bit, I mean, you only got to dive just a few feet before you start feeling those temperature changes in that water start to change. And so you could have a surface temperature of 90 plus degrees, but if you get down in that 20 to 25 foot range, that water could be as cool as 60 degrees. And what I've learned about bass over the years is that bass love cooler water. They are optimized in like that 55 to 65 degree range. That is where a bass thrives. And you'll notice that in the spring as bass start to move up shallow. Why bass move shallow, we'll talk about that. As you'll notice, like, those bass in like 55 to 65 degree temperature range, they're meaner, they're stronger. It just seems like they're more pissed off. And it's just because that is where their system is optimized at. Because a bass is not a warm-blooded creature like we are. We can regulate our body temperature. So if it's cool outside, if it's warm outside, we're going to stay like a constant 98 degrees. You know, we sweat to get cool, we shiver to get warm, and our body tries to stay a stable 98 degrees. Whereas a bass is very determinate on the environment in which it lives. If it's in cool water, it's got a cool body. If it's in warm water, it's got a warm body. And so anywhere that it can find stable, again, that's a word I keep repeating, anywhere it can find stable water, that's where it wants to be, because that's where it's going to be the most optimized to be able to do all of its body functions, to be able to eat, to be able to rest, to be able to hunt, to be able to run, to be able to do whatever it needs to do. And that's why bass go deep. Bass will go deep to escape extreme cold. They'll also go deep to escape extreme heat. But the thing is there's a population of bass that also live shallow all year long. And if you want to see why bass move shallow, click this video that's popping up right here.